We are back. This is day 2 on our pergola project, as you can see here. The first day we dug our holes, set our posts, concreted them in, braced them, and we've let them set. It's been basically a week. We went and picked up lumber overnight on one of our weeknights, and now we're back on a Saturday morning. We are building our main pergola out of Doug fir, inexpensive framing lumber, but it's strong. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a pretty decent wood preservative cabot. So I think it'll be fine for protecting the wood. Our first step, we've got our framing lumber here that we're going to use, but with framing lumber they like to do things like put stamps on it, things like that. We don't want to see that. We can minimize it by how we place the lumber to kind of camouflage it, but we're also going to go ahead and run it through the planer. As long as we get 90-95% of it off with a dark cherry stain, it should look okay. So we've got set up for our planing. We've got our thickness planer. We've got a vacuum set up so we don't fill the whole yard with wood chips. We'll dump those off to the side, and we'll probably use them for planter beds to mulch later on, which is fine. And we've got some sawhorses set up for our in-feed table, and then we've got an out-feed table. So we're going to have earmuffs on because this is pretty noisy. For right now, let's pick a relatively straight one.
Okay.
Eyeball level, straight. Let's leave one of those in front of each one of the posts. We'll use that as a block to clamp.
Okay.
To wrap your 2x1. So we have now got our boards planed down. We've got the stamps, mill marks off to our level of approval. We pulled our braces down from when we set the posts, and now we are going to prepare our cross pieces. And because this is a very unique geometry, none of the posts are square related to each other. Everything is off at a funky angle, and we're not going to run string lines and calculate and all that. What we're going to do is we're going to do the simple hold it in place and mark it to where we think it looks good. So we are going to clamp those
very exact science.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the best way to do in finish work, is just bump it to one side and mark it where the other end needs to be. You're guaranteed to get a pretty good fit.
And we're going to try and butt the 2x6s at the center of each 4x4.
Correct. So we'll get our full 1 3/4 inch bearing on either end of the 2x6s where they butt or adjoin each other.
Yep.
We're going to have one continuous row basically curve around on the inside of our pergola, because it's more or less kind of a 90-degree arc. The two ends are 90 degrees after it makes this arc.
Gotcha.
And then we're also going to have a row on the outside. So we've got inside and outside 2x6s.
Sandwiching the 4x4s.
Yeah, sandwiching it. We're going to use chunks of 2x4 or 2x6 that we use to support the posts at the right elevation when we set them on the ground. And we're just going to clamp those so the tops of all these little blocks are level on the 4x4 posts at an easy to work at height. So
because we don't want to be trying to do all this tedious angle stuff on 8-foot
9,
ladders.
10 foot above the ground. So we're looking at an angle about 34.5 degrees. We put the gauge on here. The laser is very, very faint in this light, but I line the laser up with this edge here, and down on the bevel gauge here I get 34.5 degrees. Because the distance here isn't tall enough to get a full 2x6 miter cut in the vertical, I'm going to take the saw, I'm going to rotate it back to 0, lock it down, and then we will bevel the top at 34.5 degrees. So you rotate it down with the Festool. You can rotate this knob here to adjust your bevel, and so that would be 35 degrees, and I just bring it over to about 34.5 right there. Booger right there. So I'm going to come back and start my cut just a little bit in. Right about there gets rid of most of the issues. Clamp it down. There we go. And didn't turn the vacuum on, so it's a little dusty. Hit the record button.